So welcome, welcome. Glad to have you here today. We might have a few more people hop on, so we'll keep track of that. But this is a really important presentation. Having been someone who has worked with first responders, our Park Ridge location is right near, for those of you who are in the Chicago area, we're right over the border of Chicago, Edison Park, and there are many first responder, firefighter, police, paramedics who live in that area because you have to live in the city boundaries. And I had a friend and colleague who was the EAP for the fire department for, many, many years, Dan DeGrice, a good guy. And anyway, so we would get quite a few of these those people, get first responders who were needing help, right? I mean, they talk about folks who have had trauma or have had an incredible amount of stress and, stress in their nervous system on a regular basis. But I found that working with them was very different, that I couldn't just approach them like every other client. Now, that's an overstatement. Sometimes it was just like working with anybody else. But here I'm an outsider. I certainly don't understand the culture other than through word of mouth. But also, I remember this one guy, because we were talking about how he had all this stuff built up in his nervous system. And he said, look, if I deal with this stuff, if I talk about it, I need to be able to run into burning buildings on a regular basis, which means I can't think too much about how it feels to run into a burning building. Or guess what? Next time I need to run into a burning building, I might hesitate, and that could be your house. So we need to figure out another way to work. This is many moons ago, and I thought, smart, okay, good idea. So I had to learn through, talking to Dan and other folks who worked with first responders, how do we do this efficiently? What are the needs of, again, I'm making a gross overstatement, but I think there are different ways, in some ways, some considerations to take that we may not know from just our general work. So I'm really thrilled to have you here today, Greg, to talk to us about this issue. So very glad to have you. Let me tell our audience a little bit about you. So today we are fortunate enough to have Greg Bagdade. Is that the correct pronunciation, Greg?
Yep, that definitely works.
Yeah, with a name like Jacques, I always want to just double check. So Greg is a mental health counselor with his master's degree from Concordia University, bachelor's degree from Penn State in Human Development and Family Studies, where he interned at the Chicago Fire Department Employee Assistance Program. Much of his studies were dedicated to understanding trauma-related issues such as anxiety and depression and PTSD. Greg is currently a firefighter paramedic for the Chicago Fire Department, logging in almost 20 years in this position. When do you get to retire?
I'm actually retiring in 2026.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
3 more years.
Yes.
He heads the first responder program at CCAH, helping fire, police, military cope with the rigors of their career. Greg's also the author of a book called Mental Health Mayday, a firefighter survival guide from recruit through retirement. Greg helps others that are struggling with trauma-related issues, relationship issues, addiction, self-harm behaviors, transitional life issues, anger management, and more. Greg utilizes a person-centered approach, CBT, DBT, as well as solution-focused therapy. And he's also provides the Gottman method for couples and is EMDR trained. That's fabulous for his trauma work. What a great set of resources you've got. And at the moment you're an LPC.
Yes.
You're doing a lot. Boy, I love that. You are going to be ready to roll with that extra C in your name.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Wonderful. Well, I'm going to let you take the floor, but thank you so much, Greg. I look forward to hearing all you have to say today. And again, folks, please put questions in the Q&A. We're going to address those at the end so Greg can get through his presentation, but feel free to put your Q&A or your questions in the Q&A and we will get to them at the end. Greg, I'll let you know when we have about 5 minutes. We usually save about 15 for the Q&A. So thank you so much, Greg. Very happy to have you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much for the hosts. I'm really very happy to talk about this subject. I'm very passionate about it. Like Margot said and Ingrid said, I am a firefighter paramedic for the Chicago Fire Department. And I am also a clinician, which puts me in a unique situation to care for first responders and understand what it is that they have to deal with on a daily basis. It's really a culture that is close guarded. It's very, it's a chasm. You watch the TV shows and you watch the movies, and it doesn't even touch exactly how it is. And they try to do a good job, but the culture is very exclusive. It's almost like an exclusive club to be part of the fire department. I'm going to take you back a little bit and tell you a little bit about my journey. So once again, my name is Greg Baghdad. I live in the northwest side of the city of Chicago, which is, as Margot said, it's a residency requirement when you work for the Chicago Fire Department that you have to live within the city limits. I did not start that way. I started off as a teenager in the suburbs in Buffalo Grove, and I was a troublemaker. I got in a lot of trouble and I did a lot of things that I was not supposed to do. And my father once said to me during that time, Greg, I've kind of lost my respect for you. And I hold my father's word in high regard. And when he said that, it kind of knocked me down. And I said to myself, Greg, introspectively, you really have to do something with your life. So now this was before, now I'm 40, I'm almost 49 years old. So there was no Google, there was no Yahoo. You go to the library and you look at the periodicals. And I wanted to see what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I looked at the periodicals and I looked up jobs, and I looked hard, and some people that I was hanging with, one of the ladies, their boyfriends stated that they were a firefighter. And I said, that's really cool. One of us is a firefighter? She said, yeah. And I said, so how much college did he do? None. It's more like a trade. And I said, wow, that he helps people, right? And she said, yeah, he's a paramedic. And I said, wow, that is phenomenal. And it really got the ball rolling in my head for something that I could do for myself. So being in Buffalo Grove, I walked over to the Buffalo Grove Fire Department. And like I told you, I don't look like how I do now. When I was in my teens and 20s, I had long hair and I had a full beard. And I said, hey, I want to be a firefighter. And he said, go to the Long Grove Fire Department, which is a great start. It's a kind of a feeder. It's more of a volunteer fire department. So I walked over there and they gave me a shot. They said, hey, if you shave your beard, if you cut your hair, we'll send you through the fire academy and we will sponsor you. So I became a Long Grove firefighter, and I eventually went to school to be a EMT and then a paramedic. And then I worked full time for the Long Grove Fire Department. And then soon thereafter, I set my sights higher, and I said, I saw the city was calling my name, and the paramedic list, which I'll discuss with you, between being a paramedic and being a firefighter in the city later on in this presentation. But the paramedic, they were hiring paramedics. And I said to myself, I want to be a paramedic for the Chicago Fire Department. I put my name on the list in 99. And in 2001, I got called. I ended up being in the fire academy when the towers fell. And I said to myself, this is what I want to do with my life. And I said, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to help people. So I was a paramedic for 8 years, and then I did what's